Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the second Jud Dryden Show of the season on Bedford County Sports Live. I'm Bill Anderson, your host, and the head coach is the infamous Jud Dryden's along with us. And today's show is brought to you by SLC Firearms. It's inside Shelbyville Lumber, 917 North Main Street, right here in Shelbyville, 931-684-5731. Guns, ammo, optics, gunsmithing, and gun cleaning, transfers, family-owned and operated. Hit plumbing, take a right, and you're there. Stop in and see Mike Matusik and Chris Cartwright and the gang and check them out. All right, Coach, we got some player interviews we're going to do, but we're going to start with the game Friday night. Right off the bat, had a problem being offsides on a kick and had penalties on two of our first five plays, but the defense had them stopped.
We did, and then got caught with a guy trying to come off the field as we got the quarterback off to get the returner on and set them up for a fourth and short that they converted, and then 2-3 plays later they're in the end zone. So that it kind of defensively summed up the game for us on that. The corrections on the offsides on the kickoff, things like that, have been addressed this week in practice again. So that, which is basically all we can do at that point, is make sure we make the corrections and then reinforce the corrections and then move on from there.
Because it really hurt us too, because Betzelberger puts it in the end zone. He has a great kick. It's just a killer.
And so, I mean, it's again, you're dealing with just situational type stuff that you've got new players and new spots, and it will quickly become a non-excuse. Because after another 2-3 games, when we get into the fifth game of the season, those guys that are making those mistakes are no longer new guys. They're experienced guys, and so we're seeing we did cut the number of total penalty yards in half from the previous week. That's a positive, but there's still too many and still too many mistakes. So we've addressed it all offensively. We played a pretty dang good football game. Came up short when we really needed it in the fourth quarter, but that's part of it. Anytime you score 35 points, you should give yourself a chance to win. We did have ourselves in a position there. Coach,
you get down 14-0. Big drive. Bailey starts to run the ball. We start getting some things going on, right? 14-7.
Yep.
They go back up 21-7. We come down a Bobo to Bobo.
Yep.
This, to me, was a key point in the game. I can say things that Coach can't say. LeBron gets a pick six.
Yep.
And to me, and the boss David Thomas and several of us, it appeared Mr. Ransom is not only in the end zone, he's doing a flip when they call for the block in the back. And I'm not saying it didn't happen, but the touchdown had happened. It's 21-21.
Yes. And so that's one of those calls. It's as I told somebody today, those officials have a very, very tough job.
Oh, they do.
And whether it was good or bad is not on me or anybody on my staff.
I'm not denying it happened. My question was,
was it a legit call? Yeah. Was it the timing? Was it whatever? I mean, it. At this point, it is what it is. That changes the momentum for us, especially when we come back and score bang bang in the second half with some great adjustments.
Kenny was telling me on the Saturday show, and I didn't know this, but I knew if you took your helmet off, I understand we don't want to do that throughout the game. Mm-hmm. When somebody pops your helmet off or rips it off, you got to come out no matter what for a play.
No, if they see that it got ripped off, you do not have to come out. It's when it comes off and they don't see that it was pulled off, that's when you have to come out. And so a guy's got to come out.
So calling a timeout like you did doesn't matter?
No, it doesn't matter. It's still we didn't call the timeout to give that. We called the timeout to get everybody settled down and be able to call play.
Did you think about kicking a field goal there?
We did.
I just wondered if you thought about it.
Yeah, we did.
That would have been a pretty long field goal, though.
It would have, and I just wasn't and that's a 50-50 call one way or the other, and just wasn't comfortable in that moment.
Your kicker's got the leg, but can we get the snap, get it down? Does a mistake happen? Do we get a block?
And so we're, it's one of those things you take in all the factors and you make a decision and then you live with the result. So, where our offensive line was starting to push bodies around, we felt like we had a chance, and so we took it.
Second half, again, you're down 21-14. Yeah. You come out on a 14-0 run, get up 28-21. We're all sitting there thinking, here we go.
Yeah.
Well, what a run, and we'll get to it here in a minute. What a run by Stephen Bobo.
Yeah. It was just set up really well. He took off, and he outran every angle. He's explosive, and he showed why he has to be on the field offensively.
And number 2 and number 8, who for Marshall County are no slouches. Mm-hmm. These are ball players. They had the angle on him.
They did.
Still
And
didn't
he
matter.
outran him,
They
yeah.
couldn't catch him.
And so that goes back to how hard Stevens worked. I mean, Stevens got some natural ability for sure, but he has worked his tail off to become better at what he does, and it shows up.
And we're going to play a clip here in a second, but let's just talk a minute about Mr. Bailey. 22 rushes, 249 yards, and 3 touchdowns. What an effort.
Half the touches from the previous week.
Yes.
Which was a goal.
And they were keying on him. And they were keying on him with 8-man boxes and stuff. And as the game went on, like you said, I thought our offensive line then started to get a push.
Yep. And it was just one of those things where, again, we're inexperienced up front. I mean, even though we have 3 seniors now with Palmer Edwards playing on the offensive line, he still did not play offensive line last year. He was a tight end. So he's still trying to figure things out as well. And so as we're progressing through the game, they start to figure things out. I mean, that offensive line is intelligent. I mean, they are a smart group of young men. And as they diagnosed stuff and as they got coached up and everything, you could start to see us starting to move bodies where we hadn't been in the first quarter and through part of the second quarter.
All right. Our offensive player of the game is Stephen Bobo, and he ran for 122 yards, and he had a rushing touchdown, and he had a passing touchdown. Here's Stephen. Dryden Show's getting to talk to some of these kids. And as always, it's brought to you by Shelbyville Lumber, Bedford County Sports Live. And our offensive player of the game is Stephen Bobo. Do I know your parents?
Very much. You know them very well.
Would that be Todd and Cynthia Bobo, maybe?
Yes, sir.
Hey, what you got wrapped around here? What we got here? Show it off for us.
It's like a bell. It's like, be the alpha. We need to be the best.
Outstanding. Well, Stephen, tough game on Friday night, but let's talk about one thing you did. That 77-yard touchdown run you made, those two boys, 2 and 8, both had the angle on you. What did you do, hit another gear?
I did. I hit another gear.
Did you know you had that gear?
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen it before too. One other thing I'm going to ask you about, your second touchdown pass to your brother, how special is it to be able to play with your brother, William? That's got to be special.
It is very special playing with my older brother because he's like a leader on the field, and I really enjoy playing with him.
You play defense as well. Would you play defense or offense, or do you just like football?
I kind of like playing both of them because when I do bad at one, I can make it up with the other.
Absolutely. And you had 122 yards rushing, 1 rushing touchdown, and you had a touchdown pass as well. And this week you got a tough game coming up on the road at Coffee County. What's your expectations there, Stephen?
We expect to win. We really expect to execute on offense, pass it a little more, and I just need to be a little bit more accurate in my throws.
And I know you can run it.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, me and Robert need to do good running the ball.
Oh, absolutely. Going into the second half of that game, there was 2 key runs, and actually we go down from down 21-14 to up 28-21. Before the 77-yard run, you had another nice run of about 10 yards.
Mm-hmm. We were just they were keying up Robert, stacking the box on Robert, so I would just pull it and go the other way because nobody was really there.
And Stephen Bobo, he's your offensive player of the week on the Jud Dryden Show, brought to you by Shelbyville Lumber, and we're going to move on next with our lineman of the week. All right, Coach. That's a pretty good interview with Stephen. He's a special kid.
He is. He's one of many that we've got and that we're blessed with. So it's the future looks good for us, for sure.
And his speed, I don't know. There's some kids, we've seen Bailey do it. Now we've seen Bobo do it. You're faster than you think you are when the time is appropriate.
Yes, I mean that's a competitor.
Uh-huh.
That's a kid. That's a guy that.
But that's faster than he would have run it in a 40. I promise you.
Yeah, so it's just the competitive nature, and that's one of the things that's special about him and so many others on the team.
And I don't think people realize how fast his brother is, William. Yeah, William can run
as fast as Stephen.
Absolutely,
different type of style, but still the top end's there.
And they're just so big on defense and on offense. And before long, I got a feeling we're going to see a Bobo to Bobo long one coming here pretty soon at some point.
Could be.
Stacking that box, we're going to go take it deep on you. All right, now, the next one is the lineman of the week. It was Chandler Cates. And I would have asked him this if I had known it. I didn't know what he scored on his SAT. Somebody told me it was like a 34 as a freshman.
I don't know if it's 34. I think it was a 30 for sure on his ACT, as a freshman.
That's borderline genius as a freshman.
It's pretty dang good, yeah.
And he's very impressive right here. And here comes your lineman of the week right here, Chandler Cates. Shelbyville Lumber, Bedford County Sports Live on the Jud Dryden Show, and here we are with our lineman of the game. You are one large sophomore, Mr. Chandler Case.
That's what I've been told. That's what the doctor tells me, at least.
I'm going to ask you, because I told you I was going to, have you ever broken a trampoline and potentially multiple times with that strength you've got?
I don't think as much strength as his body weight. I like to eat. But, yes, that is true. Todd Bobo's house.
Absolutely. Breaking the trampoline, nothing like it. What's it been like for you? You get to play offense and defense. What's your preference, or do you just like football?
I'm definitely more of an offensive guy. I love D-line too. You know, it's an essential part of the game, but there's nothing like driving somebody until they, flat back.
All right, you've been blocking for Stephen Bobo for a little while, playing tackle all the way down at the middle school level. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Since actually 5th grade, I've been playing tackle for Stephen.
Do you really know where he's going, or does he just go on his own?
I just try to make a hole for him. I know guys like him and Robert Bailey, they have the vision to see that hole that we create and make it something out of it.
All right, tell me what's wrapped around your neck. What we got?
This is a chain. It's in place for rope. And what this means pretty much is, I know Palmer touched on it last week, as an offensive lineman, you're putting your back out and you're working as hard as you possibly can with very little recognition. You're working as hard as you can in the trenches just so a guy can get in the end zone and make a play. And that's what it's about. It's about helping the guy next to you. The offensive line is holistic. You can't have one good offensive lineman and all the rest are terrible. You can't do anything with that. You have to have a solid group that helps each other out, picks each other up when you do bad.
All right, key this week's going to be you're on the road at Coffee County. They're big, they're physical. It's a totally different game than Marshall County because they're going to try to just run it right at you.
Well, I feel confident in our box defensively. I know that, we got guys like Nate Zimmerman and Brody Lavorne, Ellington and Colton Clardy on the defensive line who can stop that run. I feel confident in that.
All right, coming into this one from an offensive line perspective, you've got Steven, but you've also got Mr. Bailey to block in front of. What's it like to block in front of a great tailback like that who's got to be right up there in the state in rushing leaders, which bodes well for him, but it bodes awful well for your offensive line as a whole?
I think that we got a good group offensively. We can get that initial push, and Robert Bailey can do something with it. Blocking for a guy like that, you're confident. You know every play that no matter what you give him, what kind of hole you give him, even if you mess up, he can recover from that, and he's going to do something with it. He really is a great running back, and I'm proud to block for him.
All right, good luck coming up against Coffee County, and we'll be watching. We'll be right back with our defensive player of the game. All right, Coach, let me ask you this question. I understand Neil Gordon's got a program up there now where they're teaching some broadcasting.
Yeah.
That kid right there needs to be in that program.
He very well could be.
He's a natural.
He's good. He's so intelligent, but also not just intelligent, but has a good common sense type way about him, and he's constantly learning things.
None of that was rehearsed, was it?
No,
absolutely none. And he got on there like a pro.
And so he's confident enough, but he's also willing to know when he makes a mistake and he fixes it. So you can't speak highly enough of that young man.
Oh, he's a big boy, too.
He is pretty large.
Chandler will be after my job. David Thomas will be replacing me before long. You keep doing interviews like that. That was outstanding. All right, we're going to go to our defensive player of the game right now. And this is another special player and an outstanding young man, Mr. Brody Lavorne. He's your defensive player of the week for Shelbyville Lumber. The Jud Dryden Show, Shelbyville Lumber, is bringing you your defensive player of the game. And I'm going to be honest with you, this is Mr. Brody Lavorne. He's a senior. You came awfully close to getting the award last week. You were all around the place. What's it like playing linebacker for you?
I love playing linebacker. I love coming downhill, hitting people. I don't like going into coverage.
You don't like going into coverage. You get to hit there too, don't you?
A little bit. When they're coming in crossers, that's the only fun part about it, though.
All right, what you got in your hand?
We got a hammer because on defense, we need to be the hammer, not the nail. We're not going to be hitting. We're going to give the hit.
Well, you got a big game coming up this week, and there's going to be lots of tackling because there'll be more running maybe than passing this time, and you're going to have to wrap up and tackle well, aren't you?
Yes, sir, we are. We're going to have to come way more downhill, execute, squeezing outside linebackers, and D-line winning their gaps. But I think we can definitely win.
How many tackles did you have last week? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
You had 9. Do you know how many you had the week before?
No, sir.
I don't either, but it was a bunch. It was a whole lot of tackles. You also play a little bit on offense, play a little tight end too as well, don't you?
Yes, sir. I haven't played there since freshman year, I think. So it's been a little minute, but we're going to come back.
All right, from defensive perspective, Shelbyville, we like putting pressure on people. Tell us about your defensive coordinator and what it's like for having him coach it.
I love having Coach Trey as a defensive coordinator. He's very smart and he just executes everything very well.
Your defensive player of the game is number 5, senior Brody Lavorne, and this is the Jud Dryden Show, and we'll be right back in just a moment.
Coach, another fine young man.
He is. I'll tell you, one of the things about that people might not pick up on that is a lot of kids nowadays, they know what their stats are as soon as you ask them.
Uh-huh.
He doesn't care.
No.
He just gets out, plays football, and goes and makes plays, and he's happy when he makes them, and he's happy when somebody else makes them. He's a great leader on that defense. He does a great job getting us in the right spot and making the right calls out there. And again, he's just another one you can't speak highly enough of because he plays hard, he plays with passion, but he plays with an unselfishness, and that's huge for him.
And he likes to hit.
And he loves contact.
He loves contact. You got to love that as well. All right, let's hear a word from our sponsor real quick, as always. It is SLC Firearms inside Shelbyville Lumber, 917 North Main Street, right here in Shelbyville, 931-684-5731. Twitter up that website, slcfirearmsllc.com, and pick you up some of this. Hornady, critical defense ammo for the handgun, are one of my personal preferences for the 17, and you just cannot beat Hornady ammo. And about the only place I know you can consistently get it around here is at Shelbyville Lumber at SLC Firearms inside Shelbyville Lumber, and it's 931-684-5731. Coach, put the game behind us. We got beat 47-35. That's over. It's flushed. It's done. Now we're going on the road.
We are.
6A school, Coffee County. They're big. They're physical.
Yep.
And it's going to be a totally different style of football
Yep.
than what we had with Marshall County. We're not going to have spread and throw it. Well, they're going to throw it a little bit maybe. I think they threw 3 passes against Tullahoma.
Yeah, but we heard today that possibly the quarterback that got hurt last year is back, so we don't know for
He was
sure.
playing safety last week, I believe.
Right, so we'll have to wait and see what that looks like. If he's back, then they'll be more than willing to throw the ball around a little bit more because he's pretty good. But as far as film goes, they'll have one of the top defensive fronts that we'll see all year. It's one of the reasons why we want to keep them on the schedule is they give us another way to get better. I was talking to another head coach in the state who his only real test until October is Oakland. I mean, they're boat racing everybody outside of Oakland until they get to the middle of October. That's not a good way to be prepared for your region play and playoffs. I'd much rather have the games that are 50-50 toss-ups, based on how well you play, that get you ready for your region play and your playoffs. And it doesn't matter whether it's a Siegel, Marshall County, Coffee County. We got to have those games that get us ready. And so this will be another one, not looking ahead at Columbia Central, but the way that Coffee County prepares us for Columbia Central is huge. Some of the same things, philosophically, they'll look a little bit different, but philosophically, they're a lot the same. So we needed this game to be able to, whereas Marshall County gave us some matchup problems, matchup issues as far as making sure we're in the right calls on defense. Coffee County is going to do the same thing to us, as far as our offense goes. So they're both, games that get us ready, and that's why you schedule those things.
Coffee County probably has the biggest defensive front you're going to see this year.
Probably. And they come off the ball and they get after you. I mean, we're going to have to play every single snap up front. And that's why you schedule those games. That's why you don't look to go, in our case, 4-0 in non-region play. And because we may not be, if we did that, we may not be ready for a Tullahoma or a Columbia Central or a Lincoln County or whoever else might show up with similar guys. We've got to be able to compete, and this puts us in a position to be able to compete.
And also, if you're big on the D-line, we know they're big on the O-line as well. They like to run the ball. They're going to try long drives, keep our offense on the field, and grind the clock.
Yep.
That's what they're going to try.
Yeah, so we got to be ahead of the chains on defense. We've got to be able to get them in third and longs, and then get them off the field without letting them convert. So those will be big things for us.
Now, the speed would be the advantage for Shelbyville. There's a lot of weeks, but I really think this week it's an advantage to us.
Yes, it is. If we can get in space, we're going to be okay. The issue is whether or not we can get in space.
And
So
I'll just not go back to the Marshall County game, but I thought their offensive coordinator really called a nice
he
game.
did. He had
Really
a lot.
called a
He's
great
very
game.
multiple. It's a pro style offense, so it's based on multiplicity. But they do a great job, and I mean,
And I bet they don't lose another game the rest of the regular season.
Pearl Cone will be a tough test. It's
I
in their
forgot
region.
they got Pearl.
But if they stay healthy, this could be the year that they really give Pearl Cone a run. So we'll see. They're a good football team. I mean, they could very easily go 9-1, if not
Right.
10-0, which only says well of us that we played them to outside of we're tied with 4 minutes left in the fourth
Coach,
quarter.
it's 41-35, and I think every one of us
So,
thought we're fixing to go down and
yeah.
win this game 42-41. I had it convinced we were.
Yep.
Didn't happen that way.
Right, and we
But it was right there for us to
It was
do it.
ours to win, and we
Yes.
didn't win it. And it goes back to, just like I told the boys, it goes back to a very old Bud Wilkerson quote when he was at Oklahoma winning so many football games back in the 40s and 50s. More games are lost than they're won, and that's one that we lost. So that gives us a place to come back to. That gives us the hope that we fix those things and we're a much better football program. And I'd much rather it happen in game 2 than somewhere in the middle of region play.
And I don't know if it's an advantage or not, but if I was playing Coffee County, I would rather play them after the Coffee Bowl and after a big win over Tullahoma,
Sure.
because that's the big game. It was Tullahoma, Coffee County over
I
there.
hear you. Yep. First time they've had that thing for a minute. So we got to go there. We got to play football.
And I'm glad that rivalry's back, and I hope we can continue to keep Marshall County on the schedule for the same reason.
I'll be honest. I love our non-region schedule.
Yeah.
I think it sets us up well in a lot of different ways. It's different styles of offenses and defenses. It's different styles of players. It's all that. I mean, Siegel had athletes.
Uh-huh.
Marshall County has athletes. Coffee County has enough athletes, but they'll hang their hat on their O-line, D-line, so it gives us a different look. So those things all matter in the scope of the season. So we just need to play well. We need to come out healthy and be ready for Columbia Central next week.
And one thing we're going to have to really watch is the penalty game,
Yes,
because
like I said, those things they're consistently addressed. And if a young man finds himself no longer playing in a spot that he won't accept the fix, then that's what happens. And so it's all options are on the table when it comes to that. It's just simply it's a learning process for these young men. It doesn't matter how long they've been playing. And so sometimes that learning process is very simply, we can't trust you anymore. So those things do happen, and then we just move on and continue to work with that young man. We just don't write them off. We continue to work with them, and with the expectation that at some point they'll step in and help us again.
hey, make the drive up, Coffee County. It's an easy drive for the fans.
Very easy.
I expect to see a lot of blue and gold over there.
Amen.
We do travel well.
We do travel
I think
pretty
we
well.
will travel pretty well over
I
there to
agree.
Coffee County.
I agree.
And it's going to be a big one. It starts at 7 o'clock, as always.
Sure does. And it's supposed to be halfway decent weather.
Yeah, man.
So,
Coach, I saw 78 and 49. Did you see that?
I did. So,
That's football weather.
Not good for our Bermuda grass at home.
Do you have to pre-buy your tickets like in the past?
Yeah, in the past. Do you know the answer to that?
I
think
will
you do.
check on that. I'm not sure. I would
In
not
the
surprise
past, that's
me.
a great point by
Yeah,
David Thomas.
would not be surprised if it's a Go fan type situation.
I think it
We'll
is.
find out. They've not contacted me or Coach Fritz as far as that goes yet, but that's something we'll check on.
Because when my daughter was cheerleading, I remember one time I refused to go over there and watch my daughter cheer because I wasn't going to do the Go fan thing, and I would not do it. So I know in the past they did it, and David and I have alluded to this too on the regular show. There's no telling how much money it costs Rutherford County in revenue that you're losing for one, people not going, giving it to the credit card company or Ticketmaster.
Yeah.
And when you add that up, I would think it's a whole lot of money going for nothing.
Yeah.
And old people like David Thomas and Bill Anderson, we won't pay cash when we get the game.
Yeah. Well, I was told, I've not seen it myself, but I was told that there is, if they are a member, TSSAA member school, they have to offer a cash option at the gate. That's what I was told. That's something worth double checking.
Nobody in Rutherford County does it, do they?
Well, nobody's called them out on it if that's the case. So
that might be a show for David Thomas coming down the line. Maybe a little Saturday morning to look into right here.
I will verify that tomorrow and get back to you guys.
Might have to address that a little bit then. Call a hand or two on that one. Hey, your show today was brought to you. Thank you, Mike Matusik, Carissa Matusik, and the gang down at Shovel Lumber, Hornady Ambo, Shovel Lumber, and SLC Firearms. The lumber store is bringing us the player things, but the It's been SLC Firearms the last 2 years that have supported us. And Mike always appreciates this. Twitter up that website, slcfirearmsllc.com. Check it out. They got a nice website. And if they got something and they don't have it, I'll tell you, Chris Cartwright will get on the phone. You'll have it pretty quick. Coach, good show. I'm looking forward to Friday night.
Me too. Me too.
You have if it's on the TV thing, what's that called, David?
That I don't know.
I didn't know if County County's games were or
I don't
not.
know if any. I don't
Marshall
know if
County's were,
yeah,
but I didn't know if they were or
I'm
not.
not sure.
Big ball game though, different look. I'm anxious to see how we come out and
I
respond
agree.
because it's going to be physical.
It is going
both
to be a
ways.
physical football game.
Because we can play physical too.
Yes, we can.
All right, for Coach Dryden, I'm Bill Anderson. We're going to see you guys next Tuesday